because this episode is all about Green Lantern. And I know Uncle Black has a lot to say. We're talking a little bit prior to hitting record.
You really want to, you know who you get to play Vandal Savage? Henry Cavill.
That'd be man. That'd be extremely Welcome back to another Podcasting Raw Nerdy. You're with Dat Nerd ADC and a familiar face once again, the one and only Uncle Black.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
And we had to have him on this episode in particular because this episode is all about Green Lantern. So if you're excited and want to know more about Green Lantern, I brought Encyclopedia Green Lantern right here on this show, who's really able to deep dive with me into what Green Lantern means for James Gunn's DCU, what that HBO series Green Lantern means for James Gunn's DCU. And I know Uncle Black has a lot to say. We're talking a little bit prior to hitting record. So we're about to get into that. But before we do, there's a couple of things I need you guys to check out and know. One, we've done a lot of cool interviews recently. So if you're interested in science, we got you. If you're interested in food, we had one of the biggest food critics in Wichita, the Wichita, Kansas area. Not only Wichita, Kansas, he's expanding to other states on this channel. We've interviewed David Nakayama, one of the biggest comic book artists out there right now. And Ernie is going, ooh, because I'm pretty sure he knows who he is. We've interviewed Gavin Hammond, the voice of Kenny from the Walking Dead Telltale series. Which, by the way, Gavin will be on this show in June. So be looking forward to that. He'll be making his return to Podcasting Raw Nerdy. We've interviewed Carlos Azagari, the voice of Rocco, and one of the main members of Reno 911, one of the main cops on Reno 911, the principal for Furry Odd Parents, among other voices. The Taco Bell Chihuahua, he did as well. All those people, for you 90s, for all you people in the 90s, that was a throwback.
All I'm thinking about is the little plushie that Taco Bell had, that you would squeeze it and it go growl.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Oh, and Gavin Hammond, by the way, he's also the voice of Furby in like 60 different languages. So if you're interested in any of those things, they're on our channel. Be sure to check out those discussions. Without further ado, let's get to the meat of the matter and talk some Green Lantern. All right. You want to kick off? You want to kick off this conversation?
Yeah. Number one. End game is right here. That is what I'm hoping is the end game in the James Gunn universe. That right there. But I gotta say, you can't start or talk about Green Lantern without reciting the oath. In blackest day, in brightest day, and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. That those who worship evil's might, beware my power. Green Lantern's light. I'm hoping, and like Sinestro, I'm doing this hand. I am so hyped for this.
Oh my God.
And yet so reserved for it. It's one of those, this has been tossed around well before James Gunn, number one.
Yes, this has been workshopped for a while.
For a while, we had different perceptions of what we were going to get. We always knew it was going to be Hal Jordan and John Stewart.
Like a buddy cop sort of thing.
And what I've been hearing is a lot of people are not wanting the buddy cop kind of thing. I kind of want that. I kind of don't want that. I don't want a lot of CGI, but I do want a lot of them in their Green Lantern garb. Even if you have to kind of tease it throughout the series, it could be one of those things where they could use the power of the Green Lantern ring without being dressed as the Lantern. And if you go that route, I'm gonna be very excited. But I really want to break this down because one of the synopses that I heard about this show is that it's Hal Jordan, an older Hal Jordan, about ready to retire, teaching John Stewart the reins of being Green Lantern of this sector. That makes sense in the casting for the actors, if that's the way you're going to go. So we know that Cal Chandler's not going to be around for a long time, or is he? Aaron Pierce, and like we were talking, I give this man my stamp of approval. He gives off John Stewart vibes. We all know, those that have watched me on other nerd shows know my dismay of John Stewart.
Yep, we do.
Just because he's not really the main end-all, be-all of Green Lanterns. There's two, Hal Jordan and Kal Kyle Rayner for another reason, and I'll get back to that. Now, we're also going to get Nathan Fillion, Guy Gardner. So that episode is going to be nuts.
Yeah, when all three of them interact?
When all three of them interact, but more so the interaction between Hal and Kyle. Because that's, Hal and
Guy.
Because that's always been one of those things of, and I hope they go this route. Well, you only got the Green Lantern because, it was closer to you.
Yeah, true. Right.
They need to put that in there because Guy Gardner was technically chosen before Hal, but Hal was closer. So the ring went to Hal. Guy Gardner got it later as a backup to Hal and John. John got it because Hal was off-world for such a long time. The Sector needed a ring, but then John Stewart destroyed the whole planet. So did Hal Jordan, but John Stewart really dropped the ball when he destroyed that planet. Got it? Go ahead.
I was going to say, and I understand the John Stewart approach and why you're going to focus on him. Because for the modern viewer, that's their Green Lantern, right? You think about
exactly.
You think about the animated series, you think about all the mediums that John's in. Like, for us, it's Hal, right? It's Hal.
Mm-hmm.
That Alpha movie with Ryan Reynolds, etc. But for the modern generation, it's John. So it was a brilliant move to have both of them in a show.
Yeah.
And if they definitely go the route like you're saying, where it's like more of a passing of the torch sort of story, it makes even more sense because you're kind of nodding to the audience in that way too, right? You're acknowledging that, Hal is what you guys know, but this is the next generation.
Exactly.
That's where I'm at with it.
That's why I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Because at this point, the Green Lantern movie was Ryan Reynolds. And so do you really want to associate Green Lantern with that movie? You don't. So you need to go in the direction of what's made Green Lantern more popular. An African-American superhero who is an artist, an architect, and also a Marine. And literally, when you look at the constructs, when you compare his Green Lantern construct, and for those that don't know, I'm sure you know, Green Lantern is powered by will and their imagination, as any lantern, but the Green Lantern Corps, because they're so much more refined in using their ring, they could create the constructs, unlike the Red Lantern. Very few Red Lantern, Atrocitus, and I can't remember the other guy that could create a construct right now. Very few other lanterns can create constructs, but Green Lanterns can. And it's always been known that John Stewart's constructs are way better than Hal Jordan's.
Because he's an artist.
Because he's an artist. He's an architect. Let me correct it. He's an architect. The only other person whose construct is a lot better than John Stewart's is Kyle Rayner because he's an artist. So his imagination just goes wild. And ergo, well, we all know what happened between Hal and Kyle. So it takes place in Bodunk, I think, Montana, Missouri. One of those towns. One of those states. It just so happens that Stargirl happened in this. And maybe, I don't want to say Podunk, but off the beaten path is what I'm going to say. One of these states that isn't well traveled. And because, although John Stewart originally adopted the domino mask of a superhero, he eventually just decided to go without it. However, Hal Jordan did. And I'm interested to see how that's going to work out for the first few episodes.
Piggybacking on that, something I want to ask you is how many and who do you think we get appearances of? And what do you think this is going to set up? So we know we got Hal, we know we got Guy, and we know we got John Stewart.
Yeah.
Do you think we get Kyle Rayner? Do you think we get? Do you think they touch on that at all in the series? And I'm talking about the run of the series, not just season one. But I'm talking about during the course of this series. Are we touching on those people? Do we need to touch on those people? What are your thoughts? Like, what is the series supposed to do and it's going to do?
So, just a couple of weeks ago, I heard something about Kyle Rayner being cast for the show. I haven't seen anything else. I don't know where I saw it, but I saw it. I don't want that for season 1. I would prefer that to be a season 2 or a season 3, and I can almost tell you what I want from season 3, or 4, depending. The last season has to be what I want. because if you're going to introduce this, Sinestro has been confirmed.
So we are getting Sinestro in the series.
We are getting Sinestro, and it should be Yellow Lantern. It should be Sinestro Court Sinestro, not Green Lantern Sinestro. But I almost have a feeling that this is going to be one of those series, looking at the casting from it, it's really going in deep on John Stewart. We have Sherman Augustus, who's playing John Sr., which is John Stewart's father.
Yes.
But then
Is that a big deal? Or is that more of a just like an off, like backstory sort of stuff?
I believe it's going to be like what got John to go to the Marines and how he got the ring. This series is more about John than anything else, but to get it off the ground, it needs Hal Jordan. Because then you have J. Alphonse Nicholson playing John Sr. So you have two actors of different ages, one at a younger age, one at an older age. So we're going to have flashbacks to John Stewart being younger. I'm kind of excited to see that, it going deeper into John Stewart and the mind of John Stewart and why he is the way he is. And maybe this is what will make me a fan of John Stewart. Maybe. But what I have a feeling is season 1 is going to be heavily, Hal Jordan is going to be a big pivotal role for season 1. Guy Gardner needs to be in season 1. I don't know why there's not an Alan Scott unless that's someone that's hidden. Someone that they're just keeping tight lip about a Alan Scott being in this universe, because he's got to be, in my opinion. He might be passed over or something like that, or they might mention it. It all depends on how James Gunn approaches the Justice Society and his approach to how he wants to. Are they Earth 2, or are they Earth 1? Where does Justice Society fit within all this as well? Because we've been getting a lot of different names. I mean, just yesterday, what did I send you? That Lobo, and just real quick, Lobo has something to do with Supergirl World of Tomorrow.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So
Woman of Tomorrow, Girl of Tomorrow. That's going to be the main character in that movie. But look at where he's going. And I think James Gunn is going to respect original content, original comic book, and really give a nod to a lot of stuff, but also going at the same time going his way. I just don't, in my opinion, because you're on Earth, it limits you to what we're going to get. Are we going to get a Kilowatt? It's got to be a must. In some flashback, we have to have a Toma Ray, we have to have a Kilowatt, we have to have a Mogo, we have to have Abensur.
So you think that you have to go into those interdimensional lanterns, those alien lanterns?
Yeah, and yeah, they have to give us that, and they also have to give us the Guardians and OA, whoever I call it OA. They have to, because they need to explain how this power works. Why are we watching this? Because you're getting a lot of new viewers that are going to be watching this show. So you just can't say, oh, here's a ring, it creates things, but you use your willpower and your thought process.
And explain it. You have to actively show, and yeah, I see what you're saying.
You have to have at least one episode dedicated to why willpower became the Guardians' primary power source. We're also going to have to explain what caused Sinestro to turn and why he went his decision. And in the greater picture of where this fits in with James Gunn's DC universe, because this is really, literally, right now the only, well, you got Hawkgirl and Hawkman, but aside from them, really, the Lanterns are the only other characters that span the entire universe of any Earth. Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3. They are really the ones that are cosmic to anyone else. So there's talk of Starfire. There's talk of Martian Manhunter. All these entities have to be introduced a certain way, and I have a feeling that if you rely on the Lanterns to be that one thread that splits and gives you all these ties, it's a good tie-in.
Well, it's kind of what Guardians was for the MCU, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could see there's definitely some parallels here.
Mm-hmm.
Guardians brought in that interdimensional, the space element of it, and that's what Lanterns is going to do. Yeah. So it's a similar concept, and I see it probably being treated similar, where the main difference between, I think, the Lanterns and Guardians, at least how they were depicted in the movies and how the Marvel chose to do the Guardians, is they mainly just kind of stayed in their niche, right? They kind of just stayed in space. They kind of stayed up there. where I see lanterns, because it's already been said that this series is taking place on Earth. So they're kind of, the lanterns are kind of, I see them bouncing back and forth. And I see Jon Stewart he's going to end up being your main lantern on the Justice League at some point.
He is. And I think, and I really think that it's needed. It sets up so many different things, because I think, again, Hal Jordan, 60 years old. He's not going to be even in the pictures, you see him, he's like a little disheveled. He's not happy. He kind of looks a little grumpy.
No! Yeah. Which is far removed from the Hal Jordan we got in the Ryan Reynolds movie, huh? A totally different take on Hal Jordan, huh?
This is perfect, because what this tells me is I have not seen not one casting for Carol Ferris.
I think they did.
I have not.
I want to say they did, because, and I could be wrong, but I feel like they did.
According to IMDb, quickly looking, no. Unless it's hidden somewhere else. I want to say that I have not heard anything of
Is he though?
Carol Ferris, but I'm glad. If they don't, what that tells me is something very, very important. The relationship between her and Hal is now completely broken, and she's love her. And that is going to give us Star Sapphire.
Yeah. And the reason I said that they did is because maybe we were just talking about fan casting, but me and Brandon were talking about it on an episode, and I brought up Carol Ferris, and I was like, and I thought we mentioned a casting, but maybe we didn't. Maybe that's a fever dream. Maybe that's a fever dream. It very well could be.
But I like that they haven't done that, because this is giving they're not throwing all their eggs in one basket, and they're not giving us everything at once. I honestly see a Kyle Rayner coming in season 2. I won't be mad if an Alan Scott comes in season 2. Any other Earthbound lanterns, you need to stop at Kyle. You can't shoot yourself in the leg. Only 4 for right now, because there are, yes, other Earthbound lanterns, but the problem is we can't see them yet, because you're just shooting your shot by just giving us all these different Earth lanterns. 3 to 4, maybe 5. And even if you do the handoff of a Jon Stewart and a Kyle taking over, but Jon Stewart has to be primary for a while. And where does that put us? It also gives us a Jon Stewart and maybe a Justice League, or what I've been hearing tossed around as a Justice League International. God, the Terrific Corps, I think. What are they called? Terrific? T-Corps? Oh my God, what's his team called? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of.
It's almost like it's got Plastic Man, it's got Metamorpho.
Yeah.
And they have mentioned a Plastic Man, the Terrifics. That's what they're called.
Yeah, and Metamorpho is going to be in Superman, so you're already setting that.
And Mr. Terrific, and we know we're going to get eventually a Plastic Man. So yeah. I mean, this series is going to hold a lot of weight. What I want is, so I don't want a 2 or 3 or 4 year wait between seasons, because it just defeats the purpose of waiting. So much can happen. We saw what happened with a long wait with Black Panther. You lose your actor. You kind of don't want to run that risk. So I honestly feel you wrap, you wait, you film. But you don't wait 2-3 years. You film right away while the iron's hot. Even if you give us 3 consecutive, just give us 2 seasons and then wait. But don't give us a long cliffhanger and make us wait 2 years and then not give a crap.
Well, even if you film and you wait, at least film, right?
Yeah.
So like if you film it, but you sit on it for a year, they release a season every year, but you've already filmed 3 seasons. You see what I'm saying? Like that,
yeah.
That's a thought too.
Yeah.
And that way your actors don't age out too. If you, so you can be like, oh, now Hal Jordan looks 70, you know what I mean? Sort of thing. But they've also hinted at, like, Green Lantern's also going to set up your big bad, your first big bad. And the question is, who is that? Do you have any thoughts on who that might be?
It always points back to this one person, Vandal Savage.
We talked about that. We did. And I'm hoping that's true. I'm hoping that's right, because I don't think it's going to be Brainiac. I don't think you do Darkseid this early.
No. Maybe
So, could be a Mongol.
I don't see that.
And the part that I really like about that is like, let's say it takes place in Montana.
Yeah.
And this is no offense to people in Montana, but it has history of these sort of things. You can go the cult route, right?
Yeah.
And you have this evangelical like figure who people are following in Montana, and people are like, and the Lancers try and get behind him, like, okay, there's something with this guy, right? And that goes on to what I was saying in a previous discussion. Be sure to check that out on the channel about how Vandal Savage doesn't necessarily have to be your traditional Vandal Savage in the sense of all like Viking looking and stuff like that. You could have like a clean cut Vandal Savage who's just a charismatic guy, right? And who has a sinister sense to him. You could do that. Vandal Savage can look like anybody.
He can, and that's the great thing about him.
It doesn't have to be all like Viking, long hair.
No.
Like, it could be anyone.
Because he has been that way. And,
yeah.
And that's Vandal Savage is going to be your thorn in the side for he's going to be your big bad for every movie, but his role is going to kind of get smaller. But we're going to, if this is the route that they go, we're going to see how he manipulated 6 films down the line, all because of something that he did.
I'm not saying it's going to be, but you could easily have a Jake Gyllenhaal Vandal Savage. You could easily have a John Hamm or or anybody. Could you imagine if Vandal Savage was like Ben Affleck? Talk about like
I just thought about that.
Like callback, like not the Batman I love, not the Snyderverse Batman. You know, like,
oh my God, everybody is going to be flipping out about that.
But it could be anyone. Any actor who has range could do Vandal Savage, right?
Yes. You really want to screw the Snyderverse fans, and I'm not poo-pooing on them.
Okay.
You really want to, you know who you get to play Vandal Savage? Henry Cavill.
That'd be fucked up, man. That'd be extremely fucked up.
Kalel, no.
You really want to poo on him? He comes out, they'll fight. Oh, but I mean, Vandal Savage, Green Lantern number 10, 1943, 1944. That's how far back he goes back in Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Alan Scott. I mean, really, we are going really far back as a character that is going to uphold throughout the decades of comics. This is what you need to point to. This is what you need for your big bad. This is what you need for your movie Cineverse universe, because you're gonna get a trickle down effect with Vandal Savage. But for Lanterns, just uncovering, and they're gonna get like some alert from the Guardians, hey, we need you to check out this guy and this, that. And that's why we don't see that Lantern garb, and why we probably won't see them flying around, because they have to be undercover. They have to come in and as people that are walking into the town, investigating this big bad, and then they discover it, and then maybe he kills Hal.
Yeah, because you already know that Vandal Savage is going to be like, it's like, I knew you guys were looking at me the whole time. Like, you guys are not slick.
Yeah.
Like, I'm steps ahead of you. I've lived this before. You see what I'm saying? Like you're not the first people who try to come after me.
When you're
Guardians. Back in, people have been coming at me since like 1903 or whatever.
I mean, this is the other thing is something that's been thrown out is the Secret Six. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
I heard of them. Yeah.
You know, again, it's like the Sinister Six, but they're an older group of rogues, and you could go that route with your big bad for a big movie.
Also thinking outside the box, I'm kind of wondering if we're kind of we're looking in the obvious places without focusing on the not so obvious. So part of me is like, they've always announced that the Authority is going to be a movie.
Yeah. And
they've already announced that the Engineer is going to be in Superman. The Authority is kind of your anti-Justice League.
Yeah.
They do what they want, when they want, how they want. They don't give a shit.
What'd he say?
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of your foil for Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. You have Superman coming around going, hey, Moon Knight, hey, Engineer, you guys can't be doing these things like this. We have morals, we have compass, we have a code. And they're like, you have a code.
We don't.
Right. And so I could see maybe it's something as simple as that.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I mean, before the Guardians, we got to look at James Gunn's history. Before Guardians, who really knew about Ronan?
Right.
I mean, who really knew about the Guardians? And he likes bringing the obscure characters out into the light. I mean, what I hate is that we know who's playing Maxwell Lord. So we won't get him with... Go ahead.
One, I hate the casting. It made me sick.
Yeah.
And two, I think you shouldn't have blown that load. I think Maxwell Lord should have been a surprise.
Should have. He should have, but he likes to cast his brother in anything he does.